It's time for Cutting Edge Consciousness with Freeman Michaels and Barnett Bain. Thought-provoking discussions and bold ideas from the edge of possibility.
What I think is great, because of course you and I have been speculating about where creativity lies and how we achieve it, and sort of, you know, without really recognizing exactly what the process is, to tie all of the brain science that has been done. And obviously the opportunity to do so much more and research this is extraordinary. But that was really fun to have him come in and sort of confirm stuff that we imagined was probably what was going on neurochemically, but couldn't quite know.
I would love to find some studies, to see some studies, or to become part of the encouragement process for studies to be conducted in this area, so that there is a little bit more incentive to begin to foster creative states. As you and I have discussed often, frequently here, creative states are a birthright of every human being. And that they have been, the culture has diminished our access. We've been conditioned to believe that creativity is only for artists and painters and writers, and it's sad. I mean, psychologists and scientists have done their part in diminishing our access to creativity. So even, Freud said that all creativity is a response to certain
sexual urges.
Exactly.
God bless Freud.
Certain complexes.
He was working on it.
If all creative acts are simply expressions of complexes, then we are nothing more than mediums working out complexes. And while that is certainly true,
sure, of course,
to
a certain
extent, it's true. Eventually, there is more. And so it kind of cuts out creativity. And Jung did it similarly. And Jung said creativity was expressed either by representative art or visionary art. And the visionary art was the expression of archetypal energies. And then once again, we just become, creativity is reduced to just the medium of something that's set. And Maslow said that, well, until your basic needs are met of, safety and security, and then you turn to creativity. And while it might be true that it's really good, you eat before you dance. Maybe if you danced, it might make it a little easier to manifest the eating.
Yeah, of course.
So
this is the dynamic relationship.
The shrinking of creativity has not been a service for people.
Yeah. Well, I think, one of the pieces that paradoxically comes into play here is what we've called the sacred I don't know. This allowing for mystery, allowing for I don't know. And so, it's interesting that neuroscience can take us, so far, just as, the entire thought system that we have learned, the logic and reason, can take us so far. We honor it for what it's been, but Freud or Maslow or whoever were working with the constrictions of the day, of that
That's right.
developmental
And they were
stage.
At the edge of
they pushed as far as they could.
It up.
That's right. But you and I both know that the next phase of human development is beyond where we've come so far, because we're seeing the limitations of this conditioned thinking in our lives as individuals and in the collective, that we see that we've hit the upper limits of what's possible coming from this vantage point, and the notion that there's something beyond it, more than a notion, because we've obviously experienced it. And then the question becomes, how do we dwell on that? So it's almost as if we hold, and Mark said this, we hold what we call the reservation, the conditioned reality, in one hand, and we offer that there is this other piece that we have had points of reference for in our lives, moments of inspiration and breakthrough, and wow, what was that about? And as you expressed, the pen, the toying with it, the actual wow, what is that? I want to go into that more substantially. I want to expand a particular capacity because there's a whole wealth of stuff in there that I want to explore. That's what this show is about. That's what The Edge is. But every time we put it into words, we stumble a little bit because, again, when you bump up against something we're calling mystery, how do you describe that in a particular way? You don't. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. So it is this kind of crazy tension between expanding beyond and coming back and trying to find a frame of reference in something that really can't provide a frame of reference. Sorry about that, folks. But it's true, like I'm operating in this certain belief structure that I know its limitations, and yet my desire is to blow past it, and there's a tension there. Which, of course, we've talked about. But he's such an interesting guy, and I do love that book, How God Changes the Brain. I recommend that to our listeners.
Read it on the plane last night.
Yeah, and of course, I read it, last year when I was with my wife in Spain. I read it all through Spain. That was my sort of, other
I find
dimension.
that scientists, and this was, it was handled in that book, wonderful as it was, handled by omission. When he comes back, when we have Mark another time, we'll discuss this. The relationship that we have to mystery is, of course, what this show is about. And brain scientists don't so much discuss the relationship to mystery as much as they collapse mystery into brain function.
Right.
And it's a bunch of it's a chemical neurological bunch of circuitry that operates on the hypothalamus or the
the prefrontal cortex and whatever.
It's simply, this is located in this area. And on this show, look, we don't know. Is it possible we're living in a delusion? That's very possible. But as Blaise Pascal said many years ago, the heart has its reasons of which the mind knows nothing.
That's it.
And
so we're talking. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
When we collapse a very large funnel into the squishy end of logic and reason, and try and describe mystery or creativity. So it wasn't so much a seeking of description that we're after, as it is any evidence of the shadow of these higher forces showing up in previously uncharted areas of mapping.
And you and I are working on a different criteria of knowing.
Look,
here's a particular illustration. Let's say, for example, someone studies the Vedic tradition, and they, in fact, go on and get a PhD in this, and they've read every book, and they know everything about it from a certain academic vantage point. Do they know more than someone who goes to an ashram, lives the Vedic lifestyle for 2 or 3 years? That's my point. So it's a different, that's what I mean to say. It's a different kind of knowing, that it's great to have a PhD in the Vedic tradition. It is another thing to go and live it and have an experience of it that's personalized. It may not be in a historical context. It may not be in a, whatever the vantage point of the PhD is.
And one or the other may or may not be a more empowered perspective, and that is per the individual.
There's different criteria for knowing, is all we're saying. So it's great to have a scientific perspective. It is wonderful to have a doctor, a PhD, or an MD, or whatever, come in and relay, the conventional notions and some alternative ideas and yada, yada, yada. It's another thing to go into the heart of the matter in a very visceral, very experiential, very somatic way, and have a whole different vibrational experience and go, whoa, we know something different. I shouldn't make it better or worse, and I don't think it is. I think it's just another kind of knowing. And that, of course, is the work here, is that we've got a whole different criteria, another way of knowing things. And when it comes to the mystery, we don't know.
We don't know the mystery, but we know the reservation.
Yeah.
I think we know We know the round and round, the mulberry bush. We know the merry-go-round of if then, if then, if then, and if anything, that beautiful wisdom of Pascal's is that when we reduce the broad end of the funnel into the squishy end of what the mind can handle, then we have, as we said earlier, from the whatever the mystery is, it's whatever that cosmic experience is of Niagara. By the time it has been crunched by our structured imagining, it's a drop from the faucet.
And we also know that we've run out of time.
With that, we'll be back.
We will be back. So please keep tuning in, and please keep coming back to Cutting Edge Consciousness. Thanks for listening.